So for the serious bit, for us survivors in this room, 0 is a number we understand very well. It is the number of people we thought we could talk about the abuse to. It is the number of people we thought this extremely personal experience was also happening to, or the number of survivor support services that we actually saw that accurately represented our identities and our changes. And through our work, through our activism, through our advocacy, we have found ourselves in this room at the first global conference. But there are many people who are still having their voices and their experience discriminated against because of their location in the world, or their status, or even the type of abuse that they experienced. For them, 0 is a number steeped in negativity. But today, we give 0 a completely new meaning. We reimagine that there is possibilities to have a world free from child sexual abuse. We recognize that abuse thrives in secrets, and these secrets are worth sharing.
And we need to be looking much earlier. We need to be looking at harmful sexual behavior in schools. We need to be looking at, adverse childhood experiences. Who is perpetrating this? Why are they perpetrating it? How do we identify them very early, and how do we stop them before it happens? That is what prevention looks like to me. We talk about we're here to talk about the digital space, but as we've rightly seen, we've heard, there is no divide between online and offline. There are lots of things that feed into prevention online, but we need to be looking at preventing child sexual abuse more generally, identifying those perpetrators and stopping them before they cause any harm. I think I also want to say something about support as well, because while prevention is absolutely essential on one hand, we have hundreds of thousands of children who have already been harmed, and we need to be looking at how we can help them recover, how we can help them to get justice. And there are lots of barriers in place at the moment. We see waiting lists for therapeutic support, months, years long. Children not able to access that therapy. I myself waited for 9 years. It's outrageous. We should never be waiting.
En un colegio de la ciudad de Buenos Aires, llamado Marianista, un colegio confesional católico, donde mi abusador fue un docente y religioso católico, un hermano marianista, quien en ese contexto también abusó de otros niños, compañeros míos de esa escuela. Y una de las cosas que a mí más me tocó sufrir, como a tantas víctimas de abuso sexual en la infancia y en la adolescencia, fue el hecho de haberlo sobrellevado en silencio y en soledad. En mi caso, durante toda mi adolescencia y mi primera juventud. Como esa es otra de las características más dolorosas que tiene este delito, que es que las víctimas nos cargamos de vergüenza y de culpa, como ciertamente quizás no sucede con las víctimas de ningún otro delito. Y el hecho de que además tu agresor, también por supuesto hay agresoras, en el contexto de nuestras sociedades patriarcales y machistas, todo por supuesto lo demuestra, la mayor parte de las veces los agresores son varones, pero por supuesto que también hay agresoras mujeres. Disculpen si esto parece muy obvio.
Best practice, utilise survivor advocates because they will not only help shape the service, but they will actually probably be able to help enormously in funding and all of the things that we talked about. And when we're looking at the recovery of children, a strong integrated service, as everyone here has said, that works seamlessly, and an ecological model of recovery, so that it's not just psychologically or medically based, but ecological in terms of the holistic healing of the child.
But it's the structures that keep the abuse in place that we're really fighting against. And so it's about coming together, creating a vision that we can actually be pulled by, knowing that it's possible. Because I walk every day around with a photo of my 1-year self, and she gives me a lot of inspiration, because at 1 year old, this is when it half started for me in Jamaica. And for me, it's like, if I can be a part of a team that creates a world where children can be born, where there isn't any threat of sexual abuse, there isn't any threat of that kind of harm and violence. What a world, can you imagine that world? So that's what we're...
I was only 5 years old when it happened. A neighbor sexually abused me. My sister, who was my caregiver at the time, was the first person I interacted with. And I'll never forget our first interaction. She asked me, what were you doing inside the man's house? I had a lollipop, so I showed it to her, and that is all we ever talked about. Later in life, when I started to comprehend the abuse, one of the things that I struggled with was my sister's response. What if she knew the right questions to ask? Would that have made me express myself about the abuse? Would the man have been held accountable for his actions? In my work, I have seen firsthand how parents lack awareness about child sexual abuse prevention. Their response is usually to shame their children to silence or interrogate them, which causes re-traumatization. That is why for the past 3 years, Freely in Hope has dedicated our time and energy into building resources that help parents respond better.
That child marriage is not an isolated issue. It is deeply intertwined with larger global injustices that fuel harmful norms and practices. According to Save the Children, climate change alone will increase child marriage by up to 33%, impacting nearly 40 million more girls by 2050. Food insecurity is not just a health issue, but a driver of desperation. In Afghanistan, a study carried out by CARE, 12% of women in severe food insecurity reported being forced to marry off daughters under 18. Migration, forced displacement, and conflict add more risk. According to the UNICEF, in the first 5 months of ongoing aggression in Gaza, over 17,000 children have been orphaned, left vulnerable to child exploitation by the IOF. Who will protect these children? If we truly committed to ending child marriage, we must address these challenges through an intersectional lens, collaborating across sectors like climate action, food, agriculture, food security, agriculture, and peace building. These injustices are interconnected, and our approach must be too. So that's the only tip I have, or like advice. We should work together